whether he can speak freely. It's about whether someone like Tucker Carlson, who is a very powerful force in the conservative movement.
You host people on your show all the time who call my husband and myself a Nazi. So how is that any different from Tucker Carlson going on Nick Fuentes having Tucker Carlson on his show? It's not different.
He's actually
he's anti-Semitic.
A Hitler admirer. Nick Fuentes is actually a Hitler admirer.
But he literally is not a good human being.
That is a different thing.
Excuse me, you have Jennifer Welch on your show very often, and you've never pushed back as she has called my husband a white nationalist.
Hold on.
That is no different than Nick Fuentes going on Tucker Carlson's show. It's not, and you should admit it.
Well, hold on. How is it anything similar? It's not remotely similar at all. Nick Fuentes sits around and says that he likes Hitler. How is that similar
What does Katie have to do with it? What does she have to do with it? She has nothing to do with it. Literally nothing.
Scott, Katie is the person who just said to me that it is comparable to say that Nick Fuentes, who is literally a neo-Nazi, is the same as somebody, a liberal, who has an opinion, who is not a neo-Nazi. They are not
a hateful opinion.
The same.
How do you want? Excuse me. Let's go back to this point one more time.
But
Nick Fuentes can espouse an opinion on Tucker Carlson's show.
It is not the same.
And he didn't push back the same way you didn't push back when someone called someone in my family a Nazi.
Hold on a second.
It's not different.
Hold on a second.
It's not.
If someone comes on this show and says, I love Hitler and I admire what he did, they would never, first of all, I would never invite them on the show and they would never be invited back. So those two things are not the same thing.
But yet you've gone on Jennifer Welch's podcast. It's the same thing.
They are not the same thing.
What I think is so,
but Katie, hold on, Katie.
No, we can
do you believe that Jennifer Welch has a right to say something negative about your husband?
The same way Nick Fuentes has the right to say what he wants to say.
So you think that it's okay? Hold on. Do you think it is okay for Jennifer Welch? Is she allowed to say something negative about your husband?
Absolutely, and it's your job as a moderator then to push back.
So that's the first thing.
It's the same way you're asking Tucker Carlson to push back against Nick Fuentes.
But hold on, Nick Fuentes.
Is it not different?
Nick Fuentes is espousing. He's not describing someone else as a Nazi. He is saying, I admire Nazis. You don't think that's a different thing?
Do you believe my husband's a Nazi? You allow someone on your show to say it.
Do you think those things are different or not?
I don't think anybody around
the same equitable comparison for Nick Fuentes to go to Tucker Carlson's show and you to have people to have on your show.
You are making a comparison of two things that are not in any way the same. I acknowledge that and listen, when
it's happened more than once, Abby.
But hold on.
At one point, it's a common occurrence.
When people say their opinions, I don't endorse them, but I also am not responsible for their opinions.
So doesn't that apply to Tucker Carlson?
That is different from a person themselves describing themselves as a hate monger.
Is Tucker Carlson responsible for Nick Fuentes' opinions?
But hold on a second. I am also not a Republican Party official or a Democrat Party official.
Neither is
and
Tucker
so I'm
Carlson.
asking you about you as a Republican and who you think is the leader of your party, right?
Right
and
now it's President Donald Trump.
And I'm asking your opinion. Your opinion, okay? If you think that J.D. Vance is that person, do you think that he should be sitting at a table and nodding along with Nick Fuentes, yes or no?
I don't believe J.D. Vance has ever sat and nodded along with Nick Fuentes.
Do you think that Tucker Carlson, do you think it is okay for J.D. Vance to think it's okay for Tucker Carlson to sit and nod along with
I think it's okay for Tucker Carlson to have Nick Fuentes on the show the same way you have people on your show who espouse similar views.
Hold on, that's all I asked you, and we can just leave it at that. Because at the end of the day, that is what the Republican Party has to decide. Do they care whether or not someone who has a loud voice in their party is bringing on somebody who is encouraging neo-Nazism?
Wait,
and if you think
that is okay,
wait, if you think that's okay, let's go back to the murder of Charlie Kirk. Let's go back to the murder of Charlie Kirk. Should we?
We have to leave it at that. Next.
Wow, Abby Phillips is a hypocrite. Before you ladies sound off on this, I want to show you how much of a hypocrite this woman is. Take a look at clip 7.
You come on the show a lot, which I love.
I know. It's fun.
We enjoy it.
Yeah.
You've given us some of our best one-liners, I think, in the history of the show. I think it was like you called Trump a whiny
titty baby.
I have a question. How do you guys constantly defend the biggest whining titty baby on the planet?
That's in the top 10 things people have said on the show.
Yeah, titty
in
baby.
terms of how surprised we were when it came
Stephen
out.
Miller is a Nazi, and he is a sociopath, and he is the one that actually is not lazy about breaking the law and pushing all of this shit through, because he is a little insecure white supremacist who I believe even his own parents must have hated him because what he
Why can't we at iHip News have crazy camera angles? Why can't we? Why can't we act fucking unhinged? I want to be unhinged for America. I want to be crazy for America. I want to wake up this morning for her. America's pronouns, she, her. All right, that's all we have. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you pre-order my book, which I would like to dedicate to one Erica Kirk, Not Today Fascist. And Erica, the person that I'm talking about today, fascist, is you. You are the racist fascist about whom I am talking to. The work that your husband's company and that you are doing to America's youth to make them racist, narrow-minded, hateful, and batshit crazy is an absolute disgrace. And thank you for the outfit, #inspo.
Wow. So, folks, I want to just give some clarity before you ladies sound off on this. All right. That was Abby Phillips. She was talking to Stephen Miller, who is in the Trump administration, his wife. All right. On the first clip, that was Abby Phillips and Stephen Miller's wife. Okay. And so we wanted to show you how Abby Phillips, well, before we go into that, so Stephen Miller's wife and Abby Phillips were debating whether or not it was okay for Tucker Carlson to have people on like Nick Fuentes on his show and not push back on any of the wild things that he says, the wild, hateful things that he says. Stephen Miller's wife was saying, well, wait a minute, Abby, you do the same thing night in and night out when you have on these unhinged leftists like that blonde bimbo, Jennifer Welch, okay, who says hateful things, and Abby Phillips doesn't push back. But Abby wanted to say they're not the same. All right. Then we showed you a clip of Jennifer Welch sitting here saying such hateful things about Stephen Miller, Trump, and Erica Kirk. So it is, in my opinion, it's the same thing. Shelley, what are your thoughts?
First of all, Jennifer Welch, is that her name? Jennifer Welch is... She might be a blonde bimbo, but she is so freaking weird. She's weird to the point, to me, in my never to be humble opinion, to the borderline of just kind of wicked. She reminds me of a witch. I mean, really, a witch. So that's one thing. But nevertheless, Katie Miller, again, she was challenging Abby, like you said. And again, look, you know me, I'm free speech. Have all the hate words, quote unquote, that you want to say, okay? Because I don't believe that there's a certain thing called hate speech anyway. But nevertheless, say what you want. But if you're going to push back on one, then you have to push back on the other. And if your standard is, oh, well, because he's a Republican, I get to attack him or whatever the case may be, but you can't say I can't attack that same thing coming from the left, that same substance kind of conversation, if you will. So it's just weird. Abby Phillip, I always say, first of all, she needs an S on the part of her name, on her last name. She needs an S, number one. So I think she's just, you know what she reminds me of? She reminds me of a cog. She just goes along to fit in. She is what we call part of the collective because she wants to fit in with her collective mindset. She has no independent thought. And if she does, she's afraid to say it.
No, she's a leftist. Well, Nicole, did you actually hear when she said, I'm not in the Republican Party, I'm not in the Democrat Party? I couldn't believe she said that when she sits there and takes up for leftists night in and night out. What are your thoughts on that exchange?
Well, she's a horrible moderator. Let's just call it what it is. She does not have the leadership ability to lead a line of ants to the anthill. It's just not who she is. She's a follower, and Shelley nailed it. And she's going to continue to stick to those talking points because those talking points equal that $1 million check. So they could hand her a list of the ingredients of a salad, and she would read it on air and dare anybody to say anything about it if it meant the check kept coming. What I want to give it a little bit of context of who Katie Miller is and who Stephen Miller is. Everybody knows Stephen Miller is deputy chief of staff at the White House for the Trump administration. He is an incredibly powerful man. His wife, Katie, is very powerful as well. She's been bouncing around Republican circles for a very long time, doing press work for a couple of senators, very well regarded. They actually met during Trump 1.0 and ended up getting married. They have 3 kids. She's pregnant with child number 4, and they have to live on a military base. Now, ask me why they live on a military base instead of Potomac like everybody else, instead of Alexandria or Arlington or Falls Church like everybody else. Because of this rhetoric that's pushed by people like Jennifer Welch.
Wow.
And I hate to say it, KJ, I'm going to push back. That thing ain't been blonde ever in her life. Even after they pour all the dye on, she's still not actually blonde. You know, I think what's really happened is people have lost sight of how this rhetoric hits people who are already marginalized. They live on a military base because the credible threats against the life of not only Stephen, not only Katie, but their children. Do you know, when you think about having to move your entire family onto a military base to keep your family safe, imagine what that feels like. Imagine feeling around every corner, there's got to be someone after you. I mean, it's a horrible, horrible way to live. But this man does this with his 3 small children and his wife, who has her own podcast that, you know, the left has absolutely tore apart because she advocates for traditional marriage roles. You know, she says, listen, I was a highfalutin politico. I was bouncing around on Capitol Hill, but the most important job I have ever had is being a mother and a wife. Yeah. Immediately, they lost their minds. So it doesn't make any sense for Abby Phillip to say, oh, no, it's not the same when a liberal says it. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same when a liberal says something outrageous like Jennifer Welch generally does and gets no pushback, like Tucker Carlson sitting in that dark studio, letting Nick Fuentes just, you know, have diarrhea of the mouth. It's exactly the same. She just doesn't like it.
And the crazy thing is they keep calling Stephen Miller a white supremacist. He's racist. The guy is Jewish. So is his wife. They're both Jewish.
They don't
care.
If
anything, white supremacists are coming after them, not the other way around. And folks, I mean, there's been no credible news or information saying that Stephen Miller, at least from what I found, is a white supremacist. I mean, we have things that have been pushed by the Southern Poverty Law Center, which we know now they've been biased and have lied and have created, hate crime hoax and things like that. We know this is all not true. So, I mean, there's no credible claims that he's a racist and that he's a white supremacist. The man is a Jew.
It doesn't matter. The word, again, racist, white supremacist, whomever, if you want to throw an anti-Semitic, whatever, these words are now just labels. You kind of throw them on the world like noodles to see if they'll stick. Okay.
But what I want to say,
it means nothing really now.
But what I want to say is, if Abby Phillips is worth anything, you know, as far as a journalist, she would counter. Okay, Jennifer, what evidence do you have that Stephen Miller is a white supremacist? What evidence? No, but she sits on there and tries to play like she is, you know, a moderator, like she's unbiased, and she lets all her guests come on there and hurl these accusations. I won't say all her guests. The leftist guests, right? She lets them hurl, and the Democrats hurl these allegations without any type of asking where are you finding this? What is your evidence? Where are you getting these claims? She doesn't say anything. Here she is again in clip 6 with Tiffany Cross. Take a look. Oh, do we have that clip here? Let's see.
Really quickly, Abby, because anytime that we play something from Stephen Miller, it would be journalistic integrity to point out that he is a white supremacist and he is the brainchild behind this policy. That's not my opinion. That's actual facts. And for him to purport lies from the Oval Office as a white supremacist,
I don't know.
It should be pointed out.
Look, it's
reporting. Washington Wall Street Journal's own reporting.
I want to address what he's.
So you see, this is what we're talking about. Now, she never says, okay, provide me the details, the evidence where this man is a white supremacist. We never get that. She just lets them hurl these uncredible accusations without any evidence.
Stephen Miller should sue her.
Yeah.
He should sue her. He should sue CNN. He should sue Abby Phillip. He should sue them all, because before it was just opinion, right? Mm-hmm. She's just, running off at the mouth. But when she says he's a white supremacist and that's a fact, that's a lawsuit.
Wow.
That's a lawsuit. She stepped into it up to her neck. And I don't think for 1 minute that CNN is going to let her get away with it. I strongly suspect that Abby Phillip is going to have one of them blue cards to read to try to make it better. But let me tell you what, it would not work. It would not work. If I were the Millers, I would sue them, and I would sue them until somebody's renting their underwear from me. I would not stop suing them, because this is the reason why they have to live on a military base. If you can just imagine working hard your whole life, earning good money, and you're living in on a military base without any of the frills that your lifestyle should have, for safety, because there are credible threats of people trying to hurt your children. Wow. And then you get this Yahoo saying that you're a white supremacist. And look, if anything, she would be better off saying he's a frat boy. That would probably fly better than saying he's a white supremacist.
And folks, let's talk about what you just said, Nicole. Actually, Shelly and I were talking about this a couple nights ago. The difference between, opinion and defamation. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is what this is why Candace Owens now has a lawsuit from the security agency of TPUSA, because she has presented the claims on her show not as opinion but as fact. Mm-hmm. She says she's an investigative reporter, and she made claims that the Harpole guy was in fact meeting with Erica Kirk or something like that at this it's so much stuff she said, but something along those lines. And now he is suing her because she has made these claims as fact. Right. And a lot of people are saying he has a very good case. We'll see, but that's what we're talking about.
Right. He's got video evidence of it. So
yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of the clips are out there. Again, I'm not here to defend Candace or Tucker. However, I'm waiting. Like I said to KJ, I want to see how this plays out. Because again, both sides are going to have, I guess, some evidence and some counter evidence. Both sides are open to discovery. This opens up everybody to discovery. I want to see the official transcripts. I'm just interested in it because I think, I'm interested in it to see how far it goes for the free speech purposes, where the lines are drawn, if you will, for defamation, if the lines have moved or if they will move, however it may fall. That's why I'm really interested in it. But we have a couple of super chats here.
All right.
We have Butterbean. Thank you, Butterbean. Thank you for your $5 super chat. She says Abby Phillip is a heifer. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. She can't take it when she is called out for bias. Thank you, Butterbean. Thank you for that. Josh, hi Josh.
Hey,
Thank you for the $20. White hate groups still exist, but they are in far-flung corners of Idaho and are almost non-existent in everyday American cities and towns. Exactly. It's really such a tiny minority, and people are finally waking up. It's as tiny as the real people who have agenda dysphoria. That's how tiny it is. They're really, like Josh said, whatever corner of the states that they live in, that's pretty much it. They don't want to be bothered, and we don't want to bother them.
Right. And if they do bother us, whether it's some type of violence, some type of assault, it's anything like that, we have the ability to file charges. So yeah. All right.
All right. We have one more super chat. Kung Fu CJ, thank you for joining us for your $2 super chat. New York City is going to be a dumpster fire in 6 months. Well, you're probably
already
right.
on fire, bro.
The whole dumpster is going to blow up right now. That fuse has already been lit.
Yeah.
Perfect. That took us right into our favorite T-shirt. These people are crazy. Absolutely. Katie needed one of those shirts. That's what Katie needed when she was on Abby Phillip's show on CNN. She could have just sat there in the shirt and not said a word. Those folks had lost their ever-loving mind. But all of the A250 events have been jumping off. I think I've personally been to 8 at this point, but there are lots of more events coming as the weather starts to break. I think probably the next big event for A250 is going to be the rededication of the United States. I think it's on May 17th on the National Mall, where the president himself will be talking about America, our Judeo-Christian roots, and how we push forward as a nation. So get your shirts, not that shirt. Get you a shirt that says not black, not white, but American. Don't let them divide us. That would be a great shirt to wear to that event. And I think you would probably get lots and lots of compliments. It's a great way to support the channel, and you will absolutely look fantastic. It's a conversation starter amongst the crowd. We'll be able to pick out who you are, and you can send us pictures and we'll share it on the show. So get your merch now. We have lots of things to choose from.
All right, absolutely. And our America 250 shirts are coming, folks. So don't get them anywhere else. They're coming here, and you guys can rep your America 250 shirts with pride. So we will have those out shortly. All right. All right. So speaking of Candace Owens and misinformation and lying, all right, we got to talk about this Tucker Carlson interview. All right. We went into this last night on Christian Conservative, particularly talking about the biblical aspects of this, folks. You got to check that out at KJ Christian Conservative right here on YouTube, where we went through this interview last night. But there's more information coming out about this. So what we're talking about, just in case you are unfamiliar, Tucker Carlson sat down with New York Times reporter Lulu Garcia Navarro in Maine for a wide-ranging interview. It was nearly 2 hours long. I encourage you all to watch it. All right. Plus, they had a follow-up interview, which she does. She generally interviews the initial interview, and then she does a follow-up interview after that person has sort of watched the original interview and to comment on that. Folks, I mean, this is ripping through conservative circles. He openly breaks with President Trump. We've kind of seen him diddling and daddling in that. He breaks with him in this interview over the U.S. strikes in Iran. He calls the decision-making process not normal. He suggests President Trump was a hostage to hawkish influencers. And he describes President Trump's influence as spellbinding in a way that engenders cowardice in those around him. Take a look at this short clip where he's caught in a nut, and there have been clips throughout since that show him saying one thing in the interview, and then they're showing that where he's misinformed and actually lied. Take a look. This is clip 2.
This is not fine, is the truth. So again, long-winded answer to a short question, but the future that I imagine is not a future in which we're yelling at each other about race. It's a future in which people are legitimately revolutionary, maybe even violent, on the basis of thwarted economic opportunity.
You said in our previous interview, the future that I imagine is not a future in which we're yelling at each other about race. It's a future in which people are legitimately revolutionary, maybe even violent, on the basis of thwarted economic opportunity.
I certainly didn't mean to endorse violence. I can't imagine I would never say that intentionally. I'm amazed that you have a tape of me saying that, and I just want to disavow it.
Okay. All right. So, and that's just one part they showed the split screen of what he said, and then him saying either he didn't say it or in this part, he's disavowing it. Nicole, what do you think of this?
It's too bad we can't use the 25th Amendment against podcasters, because I would lead the charge. First of all, Tucker is an entertainer, and he always has been an entertainer. He does journalism, but very much an entertainer. And, especially when you do super long interviews and people get you talking, the truth comes out. And then you come back and do a short form interview, and they're showing you what you said, and you're like, oh yeah, I meant that, girl, I did that. He's the opposite guy. He's like, oh, I would never espouse violence. Of course you did. Here's 10 minutes of you riffing about how America is going to devolve into fisticuffs over economics. I mean, this is ridiculous. He put his foot in his mouth and wiggled his toes around. And instead of taking responsibility for his words, he's trying to spin his way out of it. He's just digging himself a deeper hole.
Yeah. I mean, folks, and you guys correct me in the chat, but Shelly, I mean, he sort of sounds like the AOCs and the Mondamis to me here. He's doing this sort of class warfare thing. What are your thoughts here?
I have a few thoughts. I watched the whole thing, and let me say this. I know the other clip that's going around is the Antichrist clip. That's a popular one that's going around. So I watched the whole thing. Number one, this overall interview I thought was great. I thought it was a good job that Lulu did, and I thought Tucker largely was I guess open, responsive to the questions. That's number one. Number two, what frustrated me, the parts that frustrated me were that Antichrist clip, because I know they played it. I couldn't tell. She did follow up and say, well, you did say this. I'm quoting you or whatever. Okay. He kind of acknowledged it, whatever. But it was some frustrating parts. And one of the frustrating parts is that Tucker takes on this, I call it this false humility. This false piety, okay? Now, that's just one thing. But there were a few things that when I first started, and I went into the interview trying to have as much open mind as I could. And one of the things I came away with is this. If you didn't like Tucker already, you're probably you're going to say that he didn't do well in this interview. You're going to say he whatever, he was whatever. And if you did like Tucker, you're probably going to largely say, no, she tried to gotcha. Those are the things those are like the two superficial things. I think what he was saying in these interviews.
1 second before you move on. So I just want to clarify. So do you feel like the clips, because I saw the whole interview as well. Are you saying that you believe the clip, particularly, let's say, about the Antichrist, where he clearly says during the interview that he never said that Trump was an Antichrist? And then when they showed the old clip of him he actually said it. He actually said it more than once. They only showed the one time he said it. He said it more than once. And he said he never said that. So are you saying that was sort of was that New York Times tricking him, or did he
No. She wasn't trying to trick. She wasn't tricking him. I think the internet, particularly if you like Tucker or if you don't, you're going to call it a gotcha moment, and that's what's been on the loop. I don't think many people, or that's just my opinion, watch the whole thing, because that was a very small part of that whole interview. Yeah. In that whole interview, he gave whatever his positions were, agree, disagree, or whatever. He was pretty. At least I thought he was more clear than he has been before. I think he was much clearer about his positions now. And I also think that the positions, particularly when he was talking about, I think the economics versus, it was some class warfare. I got that feeling too. But I think he was making some points, and particularly when he's talking about the Nick Fuentes and social media, and they were going on for that for a while. I agree with this particular part. I've been saying this a while. What difference does it make, these social media? We have real issues here. I'm not worried about Nick Fuentes either. I agree with him in that sentiment. We have real issues in our country, and Nick Fuentes, whatever he says, Hitler, or whatever, who the hell cares? That's the part. I think many people didn't clip that out. They didn't clip that out. They only clipped out the part that made him know. I'm saying, if you only saw those clips, you wouldn't get the whole context of this interview, is my point.
So are you saying that they took the clips, take him out of context then?
No, they played the clip that if you didn't like Tucker, you're going to use that clip for a gotcha, and you're going to say this proves that Tucker is XYZ. Maybe he is, but if you didn't give the more context of what the interview, the questions were, the topics were, if you only played that clip and talked about that, and that was your focus, then I think it's somewhat, I guess it's not the full breadth, if you will, of what the interview really was about.
Right. Okay. So you're saying then that these were taken out of context. Are you both saying that?
It's not so much context. It's not so much
what
context.
You're saying.
Go ahead, Nicole.
What are you?
I I won't say it's taken out of context, but what I'll say, it's just a small part of a bigger story. Like, he explains himself better as the time went on. Now, I disagree vehemently with a lot of the things that he said, but that's just my point of view. But I think Shelley is right. And here's where I think Lulu did a fantastic job. She just let him talk. Right. She didn't interrupt him. She didn't, push or challenge him. She just let him, do his thing. And in that, I think he was giving us a better idea of how he got to this point, right? And this is what I mean about the clips that come out. The clips just show the point. It doesn't show, like we used to hear when we were in school. It didn't show his work. It didn't show how he got there. It just showed the juicy part. But if you watch the whole thing long form, you can kind of see like the genesis of how he got to that point. Now, most people, if you don't like Tucker, are going to be like, he started off crazy, he ended up crazier. But if you're a Tucker fan, you're going to say, well, yes, I agree with him here. And then down here on the end, she made him say something different, something that didn't really fit into his wheelhouse. So I see where both sides are kind of using the clips to prove their point. But the long form interview, what I came away with is that Lulu is a very good interviewer. I'll give her that. Go ahead and put that in her column. But Tucker is not that great at being interviewed. Because if she would have let that thing go on, boy, he would have had well more clips than the Antichrist to worry about. He would have had so much more to worry about because she was just letting him hang himself. And I really enjoyed hearing how he got to what he believes. I disagree, but I enjoyed hearing it.
Right. Yeah, that's what I agree with you there. I agree with you there. I vehemently disagree with most of the interview. I felt like he was all over the place. And I'm just the type of person, and I guess I'm always with what's your bottom line? How do you feel about this point? I think it's important to see how you got there. I do think that's important. But at the end of the day, where are you now? And then how is that influencing your actions going forward? And so I agree with you when you say, yes, she let him talk, and it was very good that she let him talk. But in that, he started, not only he lied on a couple things, but then he also just didn't make sense. It was just weird. It was just some parts were all over the place.
He was just cycling.
She let him talk. And so then that, to me, it takes me a little bit further. Where is this one thing that it left me after the interview? It was like, is he crazy, or does he really believe the things he's saying? Because it just was kind of all over the place for me. For instance, let's talk about this economic thing. Because this was one issue again that kind of he sort of is morphing into almost a leftist to me. And with some parts of this where he's talked about the class warfare. All right. And but he basically says that these economic issues he feels are going to lead Americans to become violent. And he sort of thinks he thinks these economic issues are not going to be fixed with conservative ideas. Did you all get that out of this as well? This is where how is he conservative when the things he was saying just weren't conservative to me?
The class warfare part, I sort of like, okay, what is he? I don't know. Let me say, I don't know if he was advocating for that, because they played that clip and he was saying he was not advocating for violence. He was saying that this is what it can lead to or will lead to. That's number one. Number two, his point was, at least towards the end, about the economics. His point was that both parties are ignoring the economic issues that's setting up particularly young people for not being able to partake. And I'm paraphrasing, to partake of the American dream. Okay. So he's saying both parties, Republicans are not doing a good job, and Democrats certainly have not and are not. They're not even thinking about doing those good. But we are ignoring the big issue and making all these other issues, race, whomever else on social media, the distraction while we are, and so this is what basically what I got his central thesis was on the economics. Again, I don't know, because Tucker is to me, he's very, sly in how he does that. So I don't know if he was actually advocating the violence and then taking that false piety. Oh no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. So I'm not going to say he actually meant it, but I'm not sure either as far as what you're saying.
I'm just going to say the veracity in which he said it speaks volumes to me. I mean, he didn't stutter, he didn't stammer, he didn't slide into it. He actually, again, showed his work. He built up to that part, and I felt like KJ, I wasn't sure what he was going to do with it. I wasn't sure where he was going to go. Was he making some kind of communist statement? If this was going to be
this is what he would seem like. Right.
I couldn't see the end goal, right? Like you were saying, I couldn't see where this was going to end and how it was going to end. But when it got to the part where he was, not necessarily advocating violence, but suggesting that violence could possibly be one of the things, he beat around the bush in a very political kind of way. He planted the seed and he's waiting for other people to raise the issue, but he didn't stutter when he planted that seed. So I don't know if that's what he really believes, or if this is him, dog whistling everybody and have the internet abuzz trying to figure out if he's advocating class warfare, and better yet, if that is what he's advocating, which side is he going to be on? Because at this point, we don't know. He really did sound very non-conservative. Let's say that, because I don't even know what to call it. At one point, I thought I'd missed some, so I had to rewind and watch again, because I was like, this is not making any sense. Like he was kind of, we call it cycling. He was just kind of going around and around and around in a circle. And then he would say something and I would go, wait a minute, how did we get here? Let me go back. And in his mind, I'm sure it made good sense. But in the interviewer, from an interview standpoint, I was like, man, he needs an index card. Like he needs somebody on his team sending him talking points, because he was kind of all over the place. And the places where he went were not conservative. It did not espouse, conservative principles. It did not espouse Republican principles, most assuredly. It sounded like to me he was a man on an island. And that's the overriding theme that I got from him, a man on an island.
Well, that's interesting, because I said, well, no, I didn't hear any solutions offered either, number one. And number two, he sounds more like a non-interventionist. Again, I guess I could say I agree with him on the part of America first. America first. I'm for that. I've said that many times. But to me, he's on the side of a non-interventionist no matter what. And so that's why it's like, what are the solutions? We don't have any solutions here. And that's the part that I was frustrated about. One of the parts, because I didn't think Lulu asked enough for some solutions. How would you do this? So I think that's the part where she fell a little short. Overall, I think she did a good job.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing. Most people, or I would say conservatives that are in this type of conversation, okay, we're talking about the issues within the country, but then we talk about, well, how do we fix these things? We talk about, even with Trump, prior to Trump, we saw these issues with the median wages for non-college men, stagnating and unemployment hitting lows, and things like that. But you talk about how the Trump policies have helped that, particularly in his first term, all right, before COVID and things like that. But he never really brought that stuff up.
That was her job to bring that up.
Well, not necessarily, because first of all, we're talking to somebody at New York Times. Okay, they're not going to be generally advocating for conservative economic policies. But if let's say if this were Ben Shapiro or if this were Larry Elder in this conversation, I felt like we would have seen or heard more of, okay, we've got these issues. Here is how conservative solutions are the best for these issues. He never did that. In fact, he sort of, to me, he was pushing China. He was pushing like these types of, issues of solutions. So I don't know. I agree with what Nicole said for the most part. I felt like, yeah, he's a man on an island, and
it's probably got a communist flag on it. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
What I didn't get from this whole interview was a sense that Tucker is riding his ship. I didn't get that sense. The sense that I got from this whole interview with Tucker, well, both interviews with Tucker, was that he sees himself as set apart, right? He sees himself as, again, like a dude on an island. However, he's seemingly enjoying much more kind of socialist, communist kind of conversation than we were aware of previously. But also keep in mind, many people have never had long form Tucker. You usually, on Fox, you got him in these little snippets, and they were telling him what to say. They were handing him talking points. Even on his own podcast, he often has somebody else on there to kind of break up the monotony. Exactly. And please believe there's an agenda and some talking points and a storyboard and all of that kind of thing. So I think, long form interviews are only good if you're going to stay, you need a murder board. You're going to stay on these topics, and they ask you something crazy, you're going to circle back to this topic. But he didn't circle back to anything but more of him. And it was not, it was unexpected. Let's say that.
Well, I'll just say this last thing before we move on with this. Folks, I still believe, and I don't know, you guys may not, I believe these people are motivated by the bottom line. As you mentioned, now Tucker is on his own. He has his own network, his own podcast, and he is being funneled and pushed on Islamist country, in Islamist countries, in Russia. And in those circles, he has increased his audience, not really by conservatives. He has increased it with populists and with Islamists, with communists, or those types of people. I was talking to somebody today in DC who was saying, I'm starting to listen to Tucker Carlson, and they weren't conservative. So they are seeing the mighty green dollar. They are platforming themselves, and he's saying, wait a minute, I'm going to stay on this lane because this is where I'm making money. I honestly believe that. Maybe I may be wrong, but that's just my take on it. Folks in the chat, sound off and let us know what you all think.
All right. Do we have any supers here, everybody? Producers, while we are waiting for our super chats, don't you all forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe out there in chat land. We have Josh. Thank you for your $20 super chat, Josh. Again, that's it, Shelly. Tucker has a false piety about him now. I couldn't put my finger on what it was that has truly changed about him, but I believe he snapped after Charlie Kirk, and I believe he is being played. But okay, Josh, I think he snapped before that. I think he's having a delayed reaction, if you will, to being fired by Fox. I've said that. I think he started well after Fox, but of course, Charlie Kirk may have exacerbated it. Everybody else out there, go ahead, hit that like, share, and subscribe again. Don't forget, you can get your merchandise. You can also check us out at the website, metroconservativemedia.com, where you can buy and shop and look at all the platforms, the articles, some editorials on there, pictures, all kinds of things. Go ahead and do that. And we have a Discord channel. I know many of you are busy in that channel. So thank you for your support and keep it coming. Nicole.
Our Discord channel is a very fun place, but listen, what's more fun? Merchandise. Merchandise is a bunch of fun. It's really a great way to wear your politics on your chest. And these are fairly non-confrontational t-shirts and other merchandise. And gentlemen, we have hats, we have mugs, we have I think we still have pillows and crossbody bags, anything that you can think of, stickers for your laptops or for people who like to put them on their car windows. Our merch store is a great way to support the channel and show people what your opinions are. Give me my money back. It's not too late. We can still all put our shirts on and go down to the IRS and show them what we're working with. We'll go at lunchtime when they're not there, so they don't get anybody's names or facial recognition. But it's a good way to support the channel, and we absolutely appreciate you. If you do get merch, please take a picture, send it to us. You can put it in a Discord. Send it to us so we can put you on the show. Thanks a bunch.
Absolutely, folks. And as you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience. All right. We are popping politics. We didn't say it at the top of the show. We were trying something different tonight. But if you're tuning in for the first time, we are popping politics. I'm KJ, along with my co-host, Nicole Bennett.
Hey, guys.
And Shelly E.
Hi again, everybody. That feels so awkward.
I know.
It's new. We just have to get used to it. It's just new.
Yeah. Yep. This is what we are. And so you are in the right place. All right. We are live here on YouTube and on Rumble. You can catch us also on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. As you can see, we love our chat. We shout out every super chat. So drop your thoughts, show your love, and join the conversation that the mainstream media wishes didn't exist, folks. Where do you see 3 Black female conservatives who are fiery like us? I don't think it's on anywhere on TV or screen. I really don't.
It's not.
I don't think so.
Yes, indeed.
We're unicorns. We're unicorns.
Yes, indeed. We are.
Thank you all. We got Paul here. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for joining us on a Monday. Thank you for your $20. Paul says he is just supporting the ladies. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. We appreciate it for real.
Yes, indeed. We certainly do, folks. As you can see, this isn't just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. So please stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. And as I always say, generally at the beginning of the show, let's continue to set it off, ladies. All right. All right. So moving right along, we want to talk about Ilhan Omar. All right. So speaking of socialists, the squad socialist, this lady, Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, is now dodging bullets and subpoenas over fresh scrutiny tying her to Minnesota's massive $250 million feeding our future pandemic fraud scandal. Plus, as we've said before, a revised financial disclosures that she claims was an accountant error. But Trump, I'm going to say it like it is, he on that ass. He coming for that ass. All right. Take a look. This is clip 3.
Minnesota lawmakers are asking Congresswoman Ilhan Omar to respond by Tuesday regarding questions about a statewide child nutrition fraud scheme. The lawmakers are seeking Omar's written and electronic communications involving the state's Feeding Our Future program, which misused millions of dollars in taxpayer funds. State lawmakers specifically hoping to look at Omar's correspondence with the owners of the Safari restaurant. State lawmakers point out Omar was a regular at that restaurant, staging many campaign events there. Its owners recently pleaded guilty for their role in the $250 million fraud scheme. Now, Omar's team and allies have largely framed allegations trying to link her to fraud as politically motivated and not substantiated. But for more on this, we are joined by Minnesota State Representative Kristen Robbins tonight. She is the chair of the Minnesota House Fraud Prevention and State Oversight Committee, also a candidate for Minnesota governor. Appreciate you being here today and sharing your perspective. And I know we're fast approaching this Tuesday request for Congresswoman Omar here. If she doesn't respond by this deadline, what is your committee's move on Wednesday morning?
You know, we hope she will respond. She certainly owes it to Minnesota taxpayers and families to respond to our questions. And so I'm still hoping, but if not, the committee will examine all our options and we will continue to press for it because she created the program, the Meals Act, that took the guardrails off the school nutrition program that created the conditions for all this fraud.
All right. Nicole, what are your thoughts on this?
It's about time. It is about time. You know, all of these Somali fraudsters have been getting quote unquote away. You know, a couple of them have fled the country with suitcases full of cash. The one, I can't even pronounce his name. The one man is getting off with a sweetheart deal from Keith Ellison, who himself should be, you know, brought up on some sort of charges because there's no way that you can be the attorney general and watch $19 billion fall through a crack. It's ridiculous. So I like that they gave her a deadline. I like that they're going to hold her feet to the fire. I would also like to meet her accountant. She must She must have Mr. Magoo without his glasses on. She's got Stevie Wonder. I don't know who makes that kind of accounting error, but that's a lot. That's a lot on one person's plate. I'm wondering if she'll step down and just take the money and run like the rest of them have. But it should be very interesting.
Shelley, what are your thoughts?
I want to see turbans and hijabs fly. I want to see them fly. That's what I want. I want them all out in the open. I want to see her nappy head because I think it's nappy underneath it there. But I just want to see it all, number one. And there's always these programs, again, most federal government, state programs, always these innocuous sounding names for the children and feed the children and let's take care of the children. And these children are still ass out, okay? I don't believe anybody's starving in the United States. I don't think they're starving. But this wench and her ilk allegedly, okay, let me say that for YouTube, allegedly took the money and enriched themselves, set up false restaurants and fake restaurants and daycares and all this foolishness. Let the hijabs fly. Let them fly. They need to have all the books need to be open. Every book. Let's start with Ilhan, Tim Walz. Hell, I say even Keith Ellison, because I think in my never to be humble opinion, that he cooked the books for them as well. And that accountant, how do you go from making millions of dollars, million-something dollar error, and then all of a sudden, oh, that was an error, is really less than $90,000. Come on. So that means did you get a refund, if you will, back on the $1 million that was really not even there, and it was really government money anyway? So not only did they use the money fraudulently, they claimed millions of dollars on their taxes that they had in assets. Maybe they got refunds back on it. So you're gonna get refunds back on the stolen money you took from the government. I mean, you can't make this up. Allegedly, okay? But yes, let the hijabs fly. Everybody comes out of their clothes, out of their coverings or whatever. I want to see the books. Give me my money back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, folks, all of you are in the chat. Anyone who works hard for their money should be first, you should be upset about this story, but secondly, you should be following it to see where it leads. I mean, her name has popped up in at least 6 different trial exhibits from the case for this Feeding America, Feeding Our Future thing. I mean, that's the same $250 million of fraud where the Somali community insiders set up these fake nonprofits. She's interwoven in all of this stuff. This is our money, and and year after year we say, well, why does the budget, the U.S. budget, get bigger and bigger? Why do these social programs and these what do you call it, Social Security and all this stuff gets bigger and bigger? Entitlement programs. It's because it's being defrauded. They're frauding it. And and again with the whole thing now where they shed a spotlight on her, and then she filed amended disclosures on her taxes. I mean, folks, we gotta get to the bottom of this. I really hope this is not swept under the rug. I hope this is not Fauci'd where she gets away with it. We got to get to the bottom of this.
A couple of numbers real quick. Let me give you these numbers and talk about give us our money back. I'm looking at this U.S. debt clock right now, real time. It says the U.S. national debt, 201 trillion something. I can't even go daggone spaces there, the number spaces. But the debt per citizen is about 115,000. Now it says debt per taxpayer. So that means that even if you're not paying taxes, you're already $115,000 in the hole. Per 357, rounded off, $360,000 per taxpayer. Do you realize that not only that, the interest now, from what I think a Wall Street Journal reported this last week, the interest on our debt is as much as the debt now, however they do the calculations, the daily interest, how it keeps going. So by the end of the year, we're going to be paying almost as much interest as the damn debt itself over time.
For the principal. So
if I understood correctly, I will put that caveat in there if I understood it correctly.
I will say we need to follow the money. Okay. So she went from uber wealthy to suddenly, barely middle class because of an accounting error. What I would like is not one more dime of aid goes to any, most assuredly not Somalia, but any of the nations that she has anything to do with until we find out who took the money. Because somebody, and it blows my mind, you can't get through TSA with a packet of cookies, but they can go through TSA with a damn suitcase full of cash. What the hell? What the hell? I want to know where the money has gone. I want them to track down the money, and I want every bad actor who had anything to do with it. I don't care if all they got is 2 camels and a pig. I want them all arrested. I want to see prosecutions. I want to see jail sentences. What I don't want to see is American taxpayers' money, building resorts in Kenya, because that's where most of this money is going. And I've got a big issue with that, because when you take a look at who we spend money on, the nations that we spend the most money on, quote unquote, feeding the poor and all of this other foolishness, are the same people who come here and rob us damn blind. We've got to get better at protecting our homeland. Listen, I'm America first. I'm not one of those America first, America only people. I believe that we have to lead the world. I think that's a part of our calling. But with that said, we should have some very firm parameters that when people come here to do us harm, to rob us in our homeland and shake their little bony brown butts in our face, like, what are you going to do? I'm going to go back to the desert. We should burn the desert down. Just my personal opinion.
I agree. I agree with you
and
both.
the camels that came in and on too.
There's that.
And it's not just the blue cities, though. Have you all been following this story? The Daily Wire has been investigating that, it's happening in some Republican states as well, in Ohio particularly now. They now have one address was listed for 94 companies, according to the Daily Wire. No windows, totally empty, and billed to American taxpayers for $66 million. So over the last several years, shell companies have been fake billing, providing fake services, and covering their tracks until this very instant. And they've investigated this and uncovered Medicaid millionaires, is what they're calling them.
That's what I've been saying. It's happening in all states where Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP. I've been saying that for months. It's not just blue states. It might happen more there, but it's everywhere, because these programs are national programs. You can get pretty much carte blanche access. And remember, if you qualify for one, you qualify for several. Therefore, the fraud is able to diffuse itself in many ways across the country. Give us our money back.
And one other thing is that there should be red flags raised, because many of these programs have been championed by Democrats. The Democrat Party is the one that champions these programs and giving this money and making more programs. And now that we've uncovered all of this fraud, they want it hush hush. You would think they would say something about this. Why isn't the money getting to the poor? We can't have this fraud going on. No, they don't want any part of it. They don't want people to uncover it. Well, why is that? Because they're getting money skimming off the top.
Absolutely. I think one of the best things that I'm hoping that Congress finally gets to work at is taking a hard look at Act Blue. Act Blue is their donor platform. And what they discovered, what some companies have discovered, is that, a lot of the people listed as small dollar donors were not. They were not donors at all, but this was just the laundering of money. So where did the money come from? Again, we need to follow the money, and we'll get all the bad actors. And let me tell you, I don't care if they got a D behind their name, or R, an I, makes me no difference. If you're taking money that's been earmarked to help the indigent, to help, people who are critically ill, there's a very special place in hell for you, right? The American taxpayers work hard for their dollars. Our companies pay taxes, then we pay taxes on the little pieces of the money that they give us. And then everything we buy, we got to pay more taxes on it. We're taxed to death, but still Americans are very, very compassionate people, very compassionate people. But at some point, we're getting played as suckers, and it should make us mad. It should make every American furious that we open up our nation. We're educating their children. We're educating them. We're keeping them cool in the summertime, warm in the winter. What else do you need from us? Oh, they want the money too. They want the money too.
Yeah, it's terrible. All of us are being bent over, and I can barely sit down now. I'm raw down there that I've been bent over so much on this stuff. We want our money back. Period. All right.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. Yes, it is. All right, folks. Again, as you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and we appreciate the support. Also, are you checking out the other Metro Conservative Media shows? We have Just the Guys every Saturday at 6:30 p.m., where you get a male perspective on the news and pop culture. All right. We also have at KJ Christian Conservative. That's me, where you get the biblical perspective on news and pop culture every Thursday and Sunday at 9 p.m. You can check out me. So that at Just the Guys, they have the YouTube channel at Just the Guys Podcast, and KJ Christian Conservative YouTube channel at KJ Christian Conservative. You can get us all. So you can watch something from all of us at least almost every day of the week.
Every day of the week. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. All right. So last topic of the night, want to talk about this Spirit Airlines. Mm-hmm. All right. So folks, if you have flown on a Spirit Airlines, raise your hand or talk about it in the comments. Let us know what was your experience like. I rode there. I did a couple times on Spirit Airlines. So it was
one time. I remember it was over 20 years ago. One time, and I said never again, and I meant it. One time, and that was it.
All right, well, let's talk about it, because they have shut down. The ultra low cost carrier with the bright yellow planes has officially ceased all operations as of this past Saturday. All right. All flights have canceled. Customer service is shut down. No more bookings. This marks the first major U.S. airline liquidation in 25 years due to financial distress. About 17,000 jobs gone. Cheap fares vanished. And the fares were cheap. They were cheap. It was a great way if you were trying to save money. Maybe you wanted to put more money on the trip you were going on and the activities, and you wanted to save a little bit on the travel. The Spirit was the way to go. Well, it's no more. So what happened? What happened? Why did Spirit Airlines fail? Take a look. This is clip 8.
Looking at a very empty Spirit check-in area at Charlotte Douglas International Airport after Spirit Airlines ceased operations overnight after bailout talks with the White House broke down. Chanley Painter has the details now. Chanley.
Hey, good morning. So earlier, the company announced it's going out of business, ending its operations immediately, telling passengers not to even go to the airport. That's why it's so empty there. They said this quote, "To our guest, all flights have been canceled and customer service is no longer available. Despite the company's efforts, the recent material increase in oil prices and other pressures on the business have significantly impacted Spirit's financial outlook. With no additional funding available to the company, Spirit had no choice."
But Spirit has sort of been in trouble for quite some time, right? And airlines merge with each other and they rebrand and all these things. Well, in 2023, Spirit was struggling and there was going to be a merger with JetBlue. But we're going to now show you several Democrats stopping that merger and then realize that 3 years later, now Spirit is gone and prices will go up. Here's Pete Buttigieg bragging about how he got involved to stop that merger.
Our department, the Department of Transportation, has generally not gotten involved in these merger cases, but that's changing today. It is so important to make sure that passengers have choices, that they have access to low fares, that they have access to competition, and yet we've seen less and less and less of that competition over the years. We are taking a step that, again, is unusual in terms of recent years, but we think is the right thing to do, supporting the DOJ's lawsuit and independently using our own authorities, which are a little bit different from the DOJ, starting our own investigation and taking other actions.
Connor, can you give me that Reagan quote again? Could we throw that in right here? Yeah.
9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
So do you get what Pete just did right there when he was transportation secretary? And remember, he had no qualifications to be transportation secretary. His job before that was mayor of South Bend, Indiana, a very small town in Indiana. So they said, okay, they cut the deal with him when everybody right before Super Tuesday dropped out so that they could push Biden through and everything else. And they were like, all right, Pete, well, you're out. We're going to give you this job. So they made someone who had no qualifications be transportation secretary. Then he helped block a merger. And it's interesting, he said it's so important to have choices. So that's why he blocked the merger. He didn't want JetBlue and Spirit to join forces. Now they would have had tons of flights and blah, 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 blah. Well, now, thank you for blocking that because Spirit is gone altogether. So the...
All right. So let's talk about this. So firstly, when I first heard this story, that Pete Booty Juice, I call him Pete Booty Juice because that booty was juicy. It juices up. It starts to sweat when he can put the government involved in private business and business in general. His booty sweats, and that's why they call him Pete Booty Juice. But seriously, when I heard of this, I looked into it because I asked, well, why is the government involved with private airlines? That's what I didn't understand that, but I did the research, and so the DOT holds independent authority under 15 USC subsection 21 to block airline mergers and acquisitions that may substantially lessen competition or tend to create a monopoly. All right. This is under the specific to the aviation sector, unlike other industries. So they have the authority to do this. So I want to get your thoughts on this, Shelley. What did you think of them doing this and the reasons Spirit went under?
Okay, so obviously the outcome was not great, number one. Number two, yes, there are antitrust laws, the DOJ, all those USC codes. That doesn't mean that because they had the authority that it's a good thing, okay?
Right.
I.e. Ronald Reagan. That's number two. Number three, I wanted Spirit to stay in business for personal reasons because I wanted the ratchet nigger culture to stay there, okay? I didn't want it to come and with the other airlines that I travel on. So that's for personal reasons. But I'm also not happy about 17,000 plus people just losing their jobs in one drop. That's not good. But again, this is classic to me. This is a classic example of big government thinking they know what's best for people's lives and certainly for businesses, the mergers, whatever. Had they merged, many of these people, if not all of them, probably would still have a job. Okay. Now let's add up the cost on the other side. We got 17,000 people, give or take, unemployed. What are they going to do? Who's going to pay for it? They're going to go to the unemployment line that we are going to pay them to be unemployed. There's your other government there. Big government. Big government does not help in 99.99% of the cases. They don't help. They make things worse. Again, and now the rest of us have to deal with nigger culture, in our other airlines when we fly.
Yeah, Nicole, what are your thoughts on this? Them going under?
It was a desired thing that they did, right? Pete Buttigieg used this as a flex because I remember when DOT went out of its way to block this merger because a lot of people were waiting for this merger. It was going to be a new low-cost airline. You know how Spirit is uncomfortable. It's like flying on a broomstick. They were going to make the seats more comfortable. They were going to have snacks that weren't like little Romeo chips. I mean, they were going to class up just a little bit. And it was going to open up new flight patterns. Like they were going to go to new places. And so it sounded like a fantastic idea. And if the two companies could work it out, why would the Department of Transportation intervene? Because there are well more other airlines to choose from. So using these antitrust laws was really not applicable, but Pete Buttigieg had presidential aspirations. This was his moment. This was his moment to shine. He did all of the Sunday morning talkies. Look at Pete leading after being on paternity leave for 56 weeks. You know, it was his moment to shine, and look what it brought us. 17,000 unemployed people. But during that same time, Breeze Airways was created. It's another airline from the mind that brought us JetBlue, right? So it flies out of Richmond. They have one in Salisbury now to take you to Florida, and he's opening up new lines. And a lot of these people who are unemployed will be absorbed by the industry. The problem is that the standards for Spirit are very much different than the standards for a lot of the other major airlines. Customer service is definitely different. You know, the way that they work, the way they engage with people is definitely different. So there are going to be, you know, some hurdles to overcome there. But on the most part, many of these people will be absorbed by other airlines. And let's hope it's not too much of a boondoggle for the taxpayer. But again, this happened because Pete wanted to be at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The only time he's ever going to be there is when he's coming to visit. He has no chance of ever sitting behind that Resolute desk. But they really did try to push it. They really thought that he was the next wave. You know, he checked a bunch of boxes for the Democrats, and this was going to be his big thing to run on. And look what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing besides, or in addition to the 17,000 jobs that were lost, also people lost money, folks. Just what was it? Last week, I believe, I was looking at flights, and Spirit was still on there. Spirit was one of the flight options that I had for a trip that I wanted to go on, and I wound up not booking it. But had I booked that flight, I would have lost my money because they're not refunding people money back. So
No,
people who actually had trips that they had, you know, set up with Spirit, they're out of money.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the grossest things, the way they just shut down, put up an email or a notice telling people to go, you know, if you did it on your credit card, yeah, you can dispute it on your credit card. But it was gross how they did it. They should have been mandated to close out all those people and ensure that those people had return flights who already were, you know, in the air, so to speak. They should have been mandated that Spirit Airlines coordinates all of that so that those people can get back, and then they can finally close out whatever, the end of the month, week, or whatever the case may be. It was gross. But another thing I thought about Pete Buttigieg and the Merrick Garlands during that era, if you will, during that time frame, I think in some twisted way, I think they were thinking that this was a DEI moment for them. They were protecting most of the Black people, the riffraff, the low class that use Spirit. They were thinking that they were going to give them so they won't be locked out of the choices because they may not be able to afford the higher class tickets. Again, I wanted Spirit to stay open so that they can cater to that culture, that ilk. I did. But I think that the Merrick Garlands, Buttigieg, all of them, they thought that they were doing something DEI-ish. That's what they were running on.
I thought about that, but you're probably right.
It's just
go ahead, Nicole.
It's just sad. And I think the way that they abruptly shut down probably had to do more with them asking the White House to bail them out and the White House telling them no. I think, you know, this was their angry moment. This was a big middle finger to the Trump administration. We'll just shut down and then people will be mad at you. Well, it didn't really kind of play out that way. People were like, okay, bye, you know, and it's unfortunate because the people who are tight on money, you think about parents who take their kids on summer vacation and they say, listen, we just going to tough out this flight and we'll get there and everybody will get, you know, an extra ice cream or something at Disneyland or whatever that thing was. But it was, for me, my experience with Spirit has been, you know, probably the worst flying experience of my life, far and away. And they tried, they really did. They gave me all of these points and they were like, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. There was a woman on a flight. I was coming back from Florida and, she was walking past to go to the bathroom that was ahead of the front of the cabin, and she passed out on top of me.
What?
Yes, she passed out on top of me.
Why she passed out?
Well, because she had just had BBL surgery.
Ooh!
And she had to fly back home to go to work. So it was her and her son, the Spanish-speaking, you know, family, and she was profusely bleeding from she had a drain that actually came out. So the drain came out, and Shelly, you know what that's like. It's, oozing, and she's walking, and you can see
everybody.
her.
Shelly has a BBL.
That's what he's saying. I don't have a
Shelly does not have a BBL, but she knows when a drain comes out what happens, right? So she's wobbling, and I'm thinking, well, maybe she's just not good at walking, in the airport. And I see her coming, and she just gets right here and just falls on my lap.
My God. Did she fall forward or backwards?
She was losing blood.
She fell right across me. And the flight attendant was sitting in the jump seat looking back toward us. And she was like, "Oh, you know her? Does it look like I fucking know her? No, I don't know this woman." And so this black girl, the flight attendant is talking to her, and she clearly does not speak English because, she's moaning and groaning. And then her son jumps up and he's screaming at her in Spanish, but she's passed out because she's been bleeding. It's blood all over her seat.
My Lord.
Floor, pus, all of this other stuff. So long story short, they asked her that any medical personnel on the plane, and ain't nobody say nothing. You hear me? Nobody raised a hand. Any medical people, you get this bitch off of me. It's me. Just get her off of me. It's me. So yeah, it was a whole hot mess. We ended up diverting. It was just a whole hot mess. Yeah. So they said, well, we'll make it up to you. We'll give you all of these points. So I will never, ever, you could rename this airline Spirit of the Living God, and I still wouldn't fly you again.
One time, that's all I needed. That's all I needed. One time.
Wow.
Never, ever.
And they were saying, now people are saying that these people with these BBLs, their ass stinks. They said there's something about the smell of a BBL.
That's called infection.
That's called
infection.
We call it staph. It's probably a staph infection.
Cellulitis, whatever. That's what
cellulitis.
it is.
Absolutely.
Cellulitis in your ass. I mean, that's like
in
a double
cheeks.
That's a double stink.
In the cheeks.
Wow.
It gives it a whole new thought process to swamp ass. It's a whole new thing.
Yes. It really
Y'all remember when K. Michelle's butt froze in New York?
Yeah.
They were saying that her BBL froze. Her saline bags that she had froze because she was outside too long, and she had to sit in a pan of hot water in the emergency room.
Yeah, hot ass.
Cold ass.
Hot ass.
I felt so bad for her. I did. I felt horrible for her. Because, I mean, could you imagine having that shift, Shelly? Who's in bed 3, frozen ass?
Oh my gosh. All right.
We have a couple more super chatters, I think.
Hilarious.
All right. That is Tom Narrow. Thank you for your $10 super chat. Love you, ladies. Amen. Thank you for that.
You so much.
Carolyn. Hi, Carolyn. Thank you for your $5 super chat. She says, today is my birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Spending it with us. Thank you, Carolyn. Happy birthday. Yes. Tom Nero, again, thank you for being one of our YouTube members, our Freedom Club members. Kung Fu CJ is back. Thank you for your $2. FYI, there was a shooting at the White House earlier. Yeah, I was here.
No, it was down the street a little bit.
It was down the street, right?
It was no injuries or
somebody
anything.
did get shot. I think the suspect, if I'm not mistaken.
He's right off of campus. Yeah.
Kung Fu CJ, again, thank you for your $2. The White House correspondence dinner suspect gets sympathy from the judge. I gotta catch up on that. It was like, what?
Yeah, she did. She tried to compare him to Jay Sixers.
It said that his accommodations weren't what it should be.
See, this is why everybody with a degree, robe, because you sit in a position. I'm telling you, this is why I don't idolize these people. Josh, thank you, Josh, for your $10 super chat. When someone says Israel is calling the shots, just remember who owned the real estate and who financed the creation of the state of Israel, the British Crown. And now Trump is ending British rule. All right. Okay, Josh. Thank you.
Josh. Good point.
Anyone else? All right, everybody, don't forget, as we leave and before you leave, hit that like, share, and subscribe button one more time if you have not already done so. Hit that notification bell. Also, check us out on our website, www.metroconservativemedia.com, where you can find information about all the shows on all the platforms, other articles, and shop as well. You can buy your merchandise. And we have a Discord channel that you all have been busy in. Keep one over there. Drop your pictures in. If you've got your merchandise, take a picture with it on and send it to us, and we will shout you out. We have one more super chat here from Josh. Josh says, I'm on the floor with Nicole's Spirit BBL story. Yes.
I wanted to be on the floor too, Josh. I really just the first time in my adult life, I wanted to jump out of a plane. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And I know there was more medical personnel on that flight other than me. I know there had to be a CNA on there somewhere. Let me give y'all
a hint. When you are traveling on vacation, whatever, medical people don't necessarily announce that they're there. Okay.
But it's the HIPAA. It's HIPAA.
No. The medical people themselves.
I'm talking about your medical oath.
No. Oh, you're talking about the Hippocratic. No. They don't announce that they're there. Okay. They blend in like everybody because they want to enjoy their vacation too.
Right, but if somebody's having a medical emergency, aren't you?
They have medical people in Vegas. They got medical people in Vegas. They got medical people on cruise ships.
And this is my point.
Isn't that part of the Hippocratic oath?
To do no harm. That's what the Hippocratic Oath says. To do no harm. It doesn't say we got to respond. It says do no harm. So when you do respond, you're not hurting nobody. But flight attendants all have first aid and CPR.
First aid, CPR, flight attendants.
They have BLS.
She didn't need any of that. She needed
what she needed was to
first aid. She needed first aid.
She got the first aid kit out and was looking around in the first aid kit, and she was like, what are we gonna do? I was like, well, let's start with getting her off of me. That's a great start. Let's just get her.
Pack her ass with some gauze, tape it up until they get her to wherever they were going to divert to. That's what you do.
I strongly suggested a tampon. Right.
The best thing she could do.
We didn't have any gauze. Let's go with a tampon that would absorb the blood.
She wasn't bleeding from her.
No, the tampon stops up. The tampon's nothing. The tampon is nothing but gauze. It'll expand when you stop it up. You can use anything. You learn that. The best thing she could have done was sit on her ass because that will give her. That's it. That's what she could have done.
The compression that she needed for it to stop bleeding. Yes.
Tell her to sit on her ass. That'll stop the bleeding.
Presses against it so that it doesn't bleed.
That's it.
It applies pressure. Or she could have just stayed in the damn DR until her butt healed.
Well, that costs extra money. You know, they charge you if you stay over.
Wow.
They charge you even more.
Sarah, thank you, Sarah, for your $2 super chat. That experience was worth a super chat.
No,
telling you that was it. I was like, never again. I don't care if these flights $1.50. You won't catch me on Spirit.
One time for me, that was it.
Right. Well, folks, sound off in the chat. Let us know what you think. Will you miss Spirit Airlines? Did you use it for travel to save a little bit of money? Let us know. Or do you feel like Shelley and you're happy that they were the one? Well, you didn't say you were happy. You said
I wanted them to stay open because I wanted the riffraff in the nigga culture to have a special place that they can go to when they want to fly, to leave the rest of us alone.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So sound off and let us know what you think, folks. Is it an NC? Are you happy that they're closed, but you wanted them to stay open because of to keep the nigger culture, right? Post SNC in the chat if you felt like you wanted them to stay to keep the nigger culture, or if you say you want nothing to do with them, you're like Nicole, it was too ratchet, and you're happy that they are closed. Sound off in the chat and let us know if you agree with Nicole. You put in the chat BBL. Oh, look, we got Fur Baby with the nigga culture.
I know that's right, Fur Baby.
All right. So we will we'll go back and check the chat and see what you guys think. But we will be back. We'll be back on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Oh no, actually, I'm not sure where we're gonna be, 8 or 9. So we'll post 8 or 9 p.m. We'll be on Wednesday tonight this week. So please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Also check that notification bell so you know when we go live. All right. Thank you all so much. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.